7 o'clock. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would ask that we take a brief moment of silence in memory of the victims of the September 11th attacks on the 16th anniversary. Thank you. Welcome to the September 11th, 2017 meeting of the Clinton School Committee. I'd like to start with a motion to approve the bills.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second. Second by Mr. McIntyre. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. We received the minutes for August 28th, and I would like a motion to accept those minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Mrs. Zepantis, second.
I'll second.
Mr. DeVault, any discussion on the minutes? There being none, all those in favor? Unanimous? Thank you. Do we have any, do we have a student rep yet, Mr. Hastings?
The elections,
Okay, all right. PTA.
So we just had our first official wait a minute, grab it. event on Friday and Saturday at Old Home Day. We ran the fried dough booth again, and we sold out. We had 9 trays of dough donated from Mr. Z's, and we cooked it all and sold it all, and we exceeded our profit from last year. So it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Lots of help, lots of teacher help from all 3 schools, parents. It was great. Our next big event that we're getting ready for is the Ghost and Goblins Run. That committee actually meets tonight, and we'll have more for you at the next meeting. But if anyone is interested in signing up now, it's on RaceWire, and it's under the Clinton Ghost and Goblins. Our first official PTA meeting is September 27th at 6:30 in the middle school library. And that's as far as we've got.
Well, that's a great start. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What's the date again of the Ghosts and Goblins?
October 21st. And hopefully we have more sun this year. It's a little rainy last year. Thanks.
Always a
you.
fun event. Special needs pack.
Hi, everyone. We had a booth at Old Home Day for the first time in a couple of years this past Saturday. We're selling Clinton, Mass t-shirts and for $20 each. We sold 17 the day of Old Home Day, and we are hoping to do a fundraiser through all the schools for this coming fall to go towards our scholarship at the end of the year for a graduating senior that uses special ed services. I dropped the ball last year with it happening at graduation due to a busy lifestyle and taking classes and so forth. So what we're trying to do is get our scholarship padded for the next 2 years and then go from there. We're also upping our involvement in the community, and we will be having a table at the Ghost and Goblins Run, selling hot dogs and water and juice boxes, with the proceeds going back into our CPAC account. And we are also hoping to have a table at the middle school Harvest Festival in November. It'll be our first time really being out in the community as much as this right now. And our first official meeting of the year is Wednesday, September 20th in the elementary library at 6:30 p.m. We typically meet the first Wednesday of each month. But due to school starting and the craziness of the beginning of the year, we always adjust it accordingly every year. And so then our first official Wednesday, first Wednesday of the month will be October 4th. And anyone is welcome to come. Thank you.
Thank you for all the good work that you do. Anything from the Clinton Teachers Association? No? Thank you. Is there any public comment? Those of you new to the format, we've moved public comment up to the front, but reserve the right to have additional public comment at the end if need be. Yeah, thanks. Thank you. So next we have members of our instructional assistants here with us tonight. We have, I believe, is our next item?
Yep.
Yep. And we have entered into and I think completed those negotiations, and so we'd love to have you come up at this time.
I think we need probably a vote to just formally approve it, and then
Yep.
we can get on with the signing.
Yeah. So can we have a motion to approve the contract?
I'll make a motion to approve the contract.
Mr. McIntyre, second.
I'll second it.
Mrs. Zepantis, any discussion? There being none, all those in favor? Thank you. So we'll ask you to come up and we'll sign some copies and...
I want to thank Dr. Meyer and the subcommittee members for letting us.
Agreed, yes. Thank you. Thank you very much for everyone involved in those negotiations.
Yeah, we can get them after. Okay. Yeah. I didn't know if I had to sign them before you.
So I could just say, I know I came into the negotiations about halfway through, but I think we had a couple good sessions that I was part of, and I think it was pretty reasonable. I think we were able to talk about some of the issues, and I think there might be a couple things we're still going to work to clarify, but I think that in the long run we came up with a fair agreement, so I appreciated working with all of you.
Thank you. I as well.
Do y'all have your official signing pens ready? Do you need one? No.
I'll use one there.
Dr. Meyer has pens for every occasion.
Were we supposed to sign this in all the same ink or anything?
Maybe, but don't worry about it.
Okay.
That's what the pens. My bad. Sorry, Dr. Meyer.
No, I just threw some down so that you'd have some, because I know normally you just raid the library.
I just tried to bring in.
I'll be on the third one.
All right.
In addition to our thanks for successful negotiations, please know how much this committee appreciates all the many, many things that you do for so many of
Thank you.
our children, our students. It's deeply appreciated, the work that you do.
Date first.
Yes.
All right, so you guys can keep one original. I'll take the other two, give them to Mary. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Superintendent.
All right, so first thing I just want to touch on the opening of school. I thought it went very smoothly. We had, really everything just kind of ran the way it was supposed to. No major issues, no glitches. I think it's credit to our principals, our staff, that they just kind of were able to jump right back in the routine, and I thought it was a great opening. There are a couple of things in here as far as staffing. Right now, we are still looking to fill the part-time nurse position at the elementary school. We have had a substitute in there. We are at the point where I believe we've offered to a candidate. We're waiting on the candidate to get back to us. It is one of those situations when it's a kind of a part-time position that people might be also exploring some other things. We'll hope to get that resolved in a timely manner. We do currently have about 3 paraprofessional openings. And you can see there is one resignation letter from Jessica Span in your packet. We also had 2 other paras who very late in the summer informed us that they were not going to be returning. So we have 3 openings right now, which were all budgeted openings. The only other thing with staffing I would mention is that we do have a few students who are new to us that in the elementary school level that we're trying to currently assess what their level of needs are. Some of them, they were here on opening day, and we still were waiting for records, so that type of stuff. So we're trying to assess that level of need, make sure we have the appropriate placement and staffing for them. So if there's any changes, we'll keep you updated on that. But right now we're trying to just sort of assess where we are with that. I did include for enrollment update. You can see this is what I wanted to literally give you was. These are enrollment sheets that the secretaries put together in each building and send to us, particularly during the first week of school. It's our boy-girl count sheets. They're always commonly referred to. Gives you kind of a sense of the class sizes by grade or by homeroom. I will note some of them might, if they seem a little bit large, there's a couple of them where it's like the homeroom might also include a substantially separate program, so it's not necessarily that class is that large. It's just that that's who joins when it's appropriate. But if there's, so I just want to keep you posted. You can see, I think it's a good, just to me those look like informative sheets regarding staffing, who's where, and what the breakdown is. So I just figured I'd share those with you. There's also just some upcoming events. There is a sheet in here from the high school. I know the high school has been working with their advisors and everything, but they're just trying to get everything put together. So you can see there's some dates for the year laid out there from the high school, and we'll continue to update those and get some from some of the other schools. I also just want to review some of the reminders on the side of the agenda. We do have on the 13th is the middle school open house. On the 21st is the high school open house. The elementary open house was on the 6th. Is that right, Rob? It was on the 6th. I was able to attend with brought my boys over. It was a great night though. They did a nice job. They had everyone in the gym to start and reviewed everything, and then the school was just literally open, and it was nice. It was a good feeling. It was great to see all the parents there. One other thing just to note in upcoming events is the September 25th school committee meeting. We'll talk a little more later under the chairman's report. That's going to be something a little different. October 9th is the Columbus Day holiday on a Monday, so that October 10th school committee meeting is a Tuesday. So just want to draw that to your attention in case there's any conflicts with that. But besides that, also then October 23rd we'll have the tri-council meeting. That is a little bit later than typically it might have been in the past. We were trying to push it back after the October 18th Professional Development Day so that we have an opportunity to hopefully review any MCAS accountability data, things like that we have at that meeting. So actually our school councils will have their September meetings school-based as they make sure that they fill their seats and go over, review kind of the purpose of the school council, and then we'll kind of kick off their work on that October meeting. As far as facilities goes, the building committee met on the 7th, and I was able to attend that. And the main thing we talked about the middle school projects and the central office projects that were approved on the warrant. They did get receive a quote just not for the whole project, but for the bidding and that kind of oversight of the project. They got 2 of those quotes from, I believe it was Roy Brown, and we awarded them to at that meeting. And I think he did the work at the elementary school, or at the middle school last time. So those projects are underway. We're going to try to move quickly with the central office doors. And the middle school walls is probably going to be a little bit of a slower process because we don't think it'll be able to be done while school's in session. So we want to just time it up so it's appropriate for, to get going as soon as school's over. The Ash Street Playground was also discussed at that meeting. We are looking at hopefully trying to do a full replacement of that structure. The cost for replacement of insurance was about $71,000. That did not include the replacing the entire structure. That included salvaging kind of the one tower furthest away from where it was. However, when we looked at $71,000, we said, well, what's the cost for a full replacement just to do it right? And it was about $99,000. So, in talking to Karen, looking at our rental facilities accounts, and also looking at our daycare revolving account, since the daycare uses that, we can charge some fraction that we've worked out with the town previously to that account. That we're hoping to go with the full replacement model where we'll make up the difference. The building committee gave us the go-ahead for that. The only thing we're going to do is, since we are going with a full replacement, we don't need to go with the same company now. So I do have another company coming actually this week on Wednesday to give us another quote just to make sure that we're in the right ballpark, everything. Both companies that are coming in, right now, both companies that are confirmed to come in are all on the state bid list. So we'd be able to go with them right away. Security cameras, I know that that's another issue that, if we're going to invest and put a new playground in, we want to start making sure we're protecting our investments. And I know it's come up with not only at the Ash Street facility, but also just at the middle school and other areas. So I have reached out to a security camera company. I have a meeting on September 14th at the elementary school. We're going to start there and look at what might be necessary for both the playground and the school itself. I did inform them that the playground and the elementary school might be something that we might look to move on sort of immediately, because that seems to be a high priority. But I also, while they're here, I want to get full quotes for all the other buildings, and that might be something that, depending on the cost, might be something, be a potential warrant article for the following year, something like that.
Terrific.
The elementary school front fence, as was nicely documented in the item, is that work has been completed. We do have the fence company is coming back on September 18th to meet with me so that we can get a quote going for the other miscellaneous fence repairs around the rest of the campus. So that meeting's on September 18th.
Dr. Meyer?
Yes.
Is there any, and I know with the playground, when you walk down there, is there a thought of moving that? Right now, where the playground is, when you're out on the playground itself, there's no room, around it. You got the bleachers there, you got the snack shack there. And I don't know, is there area between the two baseball, the home run fences of the field? Could you move it out more? Would there be more room for the students when they're not on the actual playground equipment still, to be able to play out there? Or is it, I haven't walked up against, I haven't measured it, so if what I'm talking about is out to lunch, just let me know.
There's no area between the two, they just go back to back, right?
Well, no, the home run fences, do they? Is that?
Yeah.
Home run.
Ashfield 1 and Ashfield 2
Right.
are separated by the fence.
Right, but there's area, because we put when we did the All-Star game down there 2 years ago, in between those two, we had the bounce houses and all that between the two fields.
We can take a look at it.
Yeah, I don't need a decision right now. I was just thinking where
No,
it's in that
and
corner. If
it's a good point, because if we're going to do a full new install,
Yeah.
it can be anywhere, right? I guess
and
that's
it's also
that's
out in the open
theory,
more
so-
than stuck.
Yeah.
Kind of where it is now, where it's up against all that brush and the tree line.
So I'm
Again,
sure we can at least take a look at it, probably measure a little bit, and see
Yeah,
if
if
it's
it won't
something that would
fit,
be
then
feasible.
heck with it, but yeah.
We just are going to hope to try to. I'm hoping that by our September 25th meeting, we're pretty much ready to go with and get that rolling, because it's going to be probably at least a 6-week process, and I want to make sure we get it in for winter. Before winter, because otherwise it's going to, that thing now drags and before you know it, we went a year without a playground. So I don't want that to happen. I want to try to move, but we could definitely check that out and
Again,
see.
if it doesn't fit.
I'll take a walk down there maybe with, Rob, later this week, and we can just see what looks feasible.
Thank you.
Safety was the next topic on here. Just the safety committee met on Wednesday. I guess there's been the safety committee I think has been sort of dormant the last few years. I know it used to be kind of a large committee that had school committee representation. I thought it was important for me being new to kind of get obviously up to speed on all our crisis response protocols and all that kind of stuff. So we had a sort of a preliminary meeting on the 6th. It was me, principals, Kathy, and Paul Sylvester, and Fire Chief. We all met to just at least start talking about what are some of the issues that we might want to address or clean up this year, and then who else we'd like to see on the committee so we can expand it a little bit. So we are probably going to shoot for our next meeting. We were thinking probably around December, but we were wondering if there's any school committee members that wanted to be a part of that committee. I know in the past, I believe 2 committee members were on that. So it's up to you if you want to have school committee representation on that again, if you want to have 1 or 2 committee members. I don't know what you would like.
So if you have an interest in that, if the meeting's not scheduled until December, just think about it. Let me know or let Dr. Meyer know, and we'll add your name or names to that list.
And that committee really will review things like lockdown procedures, evacuation procedures, things like that. And coincidentally, on the 7th, then I was at the Town Emergency Management Planning Committee at the police station, where we were looking more just town-wide at very similar things, actually. There were a couple questions raised that I'll start looking into a little bit, but the town, I know in the past, I think the plan has been to try to use this building as a shelter if it was necessary, but I think they were raising at that meeting there might be some concerns with exactly what circuits our generator is hooked up to. So I know we talked about within that town committee meeting of exploring what would be necessary to make sure that this building could be used as a shelter in the event of another like ice storm situation or something like that. A couple other opportunities I just want to fill you in on. The first one is the Innovation Zone. It's working with a program called Footsteps to Brilliance. I gave you a handout. It should have been with your packet. It was not in the packet. I actually I got this handout today. We had the webinar today with the group. And what the Innovation Zone is it's basically, so Footsteps to Brilliance is basically an early literacy program that is designed to target birth through grade 3. So it's really trying to focus on developing early literacy skills, addressing things, they call it like the 30 million word gap and all these types of things of, differences in households depending on, your household situation. So the vision of this is that there would be a geographically locked kind of zone where if you lived in these communities, you would have access to this application. You would basically be signing up. We would have access as a school district to kind of what you're doing. Our teachers would be able to use it, all that kind of stuff. So the idea is trying to create sort of this innovation zone. And they're really starting with the FLAC collaborative districts as sort of the mechanism to pull them together. I know that Fitchburg Public Schools has piloted Footsteps to Brilliance this year. They got it off the ground. They've been having tremendous success with it as far as their usage and being able to see those types of things. Leominster, I think, has piloted a small portion. And this vision is to really just make it a community resource. So there's just an open community resource. It's something that does not require, it requires a device to run. It does not require active internet to run. So you can actually, you could go to the library and just sync up to it and then take it home and use it, or come to the school and sync up to it and take it home and use it. The research says that at least 80% of our parents are going to have some sort of portable electronic device in this area. So the way this works, this is also being championed by the United Way, and they're willing to provide some matching funds to kind of provide that community aspect of it. So the total cost to us, I think it's on the last page, you can see that they're calling it the Legacy 12 early literacy innovation zones. So those are the 12 districts that they're trying to get involved in this. And you can see that the license cost total for those 12, for Clinton would be $396,000. Now they're going to reduce that through their Footsteps to Brilliance grant, so that the total would be $71,000. They're offering through this grant, they do have it's like a financer that's supporting this. We'd be able to finance that over 5 years for a annual payment of almost $16,000, and each year half of that money would be provided by the United Way. So it would cost, the net cost of the district would be about $8,000 a year, and it would be for 5 years, and then after that we would own it. So we wouldn't pay recurring costs, we'd still be able to use it, it would still be updated as part of this innovation zone. The expenses, I'd have to check on the exact percentage of it, but I know that some of it can be funded through Title I, so we'd be able to use Title I funds to come up with that $8,000. I think it's a really unique opportunity because this is something where we're trying to provide resources and access to, you know, tons of early literacy material, tons of books, games. There's, you know, a whole module there shown today about, you know, how to create your own story and almost do a little like publish with it right on the application. But the idea is it's bigger than just the school system. Is that it's really targeting the community and targeting that, you know, whether you're a homeschool student, you go to a private school, you're, you know, 2.5 and you're not in school yet, you would have access to these resources. And the goal is just to try to get every kid ready to be, you know, ready for school and successful by grade 3. So I have another meeting yesterday. We had the initial webinar today. Mr. Rollo sat in on the webinar with me, and Laura Taylor sat in as well with the Clinton Early Childhood. I always forget the acronym. Early Childhood Family Partnerships. There's something else in there now too with the grant name change, but you know, the people right across the hall from me. But they came in and sat, because I think that's another thing. This would also be another resource that we could get to private daycare providers and those type of places to try to make sure that students are gaining those early literacy skills. And so, I don't know, you know, my next meeting tomorrow is to learn a little more about the financing aspect of it and how that contract works, so we can do it. It is a company that specializes in municipal financing. It is something that these other districts are signing on board on. I do think this is an opportunity to be part of something that's a little unique and special and targeting the entire community. So I don't know. I know I'm just kind of dropping it on you right now because I literally had it today, but I don't know if there's any initial reactions or concerns.
Thoughts or questions?
So I guess my first question is, you know, you'll look into the financing, find out what the interest rate, come back to us, because we might have alternative ways to finance for this versus spending interest, correct?
Yeah, I think theirs is the interest rate. Maybe it's on a different document I had. I think it's like a 3% interest rate, somewhere around there.
So we look at the impact of the interest rate versus if we were to use some internal funds to be able to do that. My other question is, so this program is fantastic, it looks great. Is there training that's going to be made available to the community to be able to assist them in getting off running in their own households?
Yeah, you know, they provide, this includes 9 days of kind of the professional development type stuff for us, and I think the model is that we would train sort of our own expert users, and then that way we could kind of do more of the outreach of trying to train the, you know, going to different places, businesses, churches, wherever the people are, so that we can provide some training on how to use it. They gave some examples of, there's like a school district in California, and there was a guy who owned the like 7 McDonald's franchises or something within the school district area, and they basically put in these, they put in the Footsteps to Brilliance like kiosks in their McDonald's and tried to use that as a way to help get it out to the community. So I think there's a lot of support available, and I do think that what's nice is, you know, they kicked this off. There was a breakfast I went to a couple weeks ago when they first kicked this off, and it really is about trying to leverage all the districts, you know, like all the FLAC districts who may not have the purchasing power to really pull this off on their own, but if we act as a sort of innovation zone with sort of the loose coupling of the flat collaborative, then we can make this something that's affordable and realistic, and something where, I think what the United Way was really excited about was the opportunity to, it's going to be very beneficial to the schools, but it's also going to provide to the community at large. So kids who aren't in school yet, or kids who just live in our community who for whatever reason don't, go to a Catholic school or a private school or anything like that. So.
And then my last question is it only in English, or is there?
It's English and Spanish. So we don't have, those are the only two languages, English and Spanish. Yep.
Thank you.
Other questions? Thoughts? Do you want to act on this now? Do you need us to act on this now? Can this percolate for until the 25th?
I'm probably going to have to do sort of an application prior to the 25th to try to get the ball rolling if we're interested. I don't think that we necessarily need to do a final commitment. I can probably come back to you on the 25th to kind of get a final, yes, we want to do this, but I think I'm going to probably have to proceed as though we're still interested, and bring it back to you at that point.
Okay. Can we say that there's interest for the superintendent to?
Okay. All right. So I'll keep. We've already called tomorrow. I'll get that going, and then we'll. If we need a formal vote to get everything going. I know that they're trying to get everything in. The prices and everything have been quoted through December 15th. So I know that that's sort of the drop deadline. So I know it takes. They're always going to understand it takes some time to get meetings and stuff, but I think I will have to do at least an initial application to it prior to the next meeting. But I'm sure we don't need a formal vote till then.
Except for one question.
Yep.
I don't know if you hit on it. You said we're going to have a professional development in about 9 days. Are we going to hire a person to run this? Is it going to be like a kind of a fall under someone that you already have on the staff, or is it going to be a certain?
Part of it is it's supposed to be a very user-friendly interface, so the parent can just literally you can just give a pamphlet out at the library, and a parent can just sign up and set their own account up for their student. So from that end, it shouldn't necessarily need a lot of management. The other thing Rob and I were talking about is there are similar programs that we might use now, such as say Raz Kids or some of these other programs that kind of have access to these online literacy materials that we are paying for separately right now. That as we work with, if we go forward with this and we work with it, it might actually kind of replace some of these other. So instead of us kind of piecemealing some things together, depending on which grade level or whatever, it could be more of just a universal, community-wide, North Central-wide. This is what we use from birth to 3. And I think it's something that will play nicely into even the WIN block that we're creating at the elementary school. This could be something that even during that WIN block, certain students might have an opportunity to sit at Chromebooks and work on their Footsteps to Brilliance.
Yes.
And then just one last thing. So sometimes with these companies, if we pay all up front,
Yep.
it's a cheaper price.
Yep.
Can you just explore to see if that is our cost no matter what, or
Yep.
if we were to pay all up front, would it be cheaper for
Yep,
us?
and I brought that. We actually talked a little bit about that today too. And then the only thing I don't know about that is the United Way matching funds. If they're going to say, well, no, theirs is still going to be per year, but
Right.
but I'll at least explore that tomorrow during my meeting tomorrow is specifically regarding the financial aspect of this. So I'll try to bring that up.
All right, thank you.
The next, there were two other. We okay to move on?
Yeah.
Okay. The next, there were two initiatives by the state, an innovation pathway and early college programs that they were trying to offer. I sat in on both of those webinars, and actually I was contacted by this Dr. James Samuels. There's an email packet I gave you based on the interest of the early college program. He works for, or he I think owns the Education Alliance, which is a consulting company, and we had a meeting earlier this week about I guess it'll be last week. This is Monday, isn't it? Last week about exploring early college partnerships. This is something his company has done. He feels that with our the demographics of our population, that we would have a high likelihood of receiving some grant funding to support these types of initiatives. If you look, there is a scope of work and timeline in this email, and also sort of a letter of engagement. You can see that it's not free. So this is something that I'd say, this is not something that's been committed to yet. This is something actually Mr. Hastings and I will be meeting with Dr. Samuels tomorrow evening. Actually, we're gonna have another meeting with him to kind of review what the, I just want to be sure we're clear on what the end product would be. If we were going to make an investment like this, what is the end product that we're getting? Is this like turnkey and we got kids taking college courses in January, or is this something that there's still going to be a lot of legwork? So that way we need to basically evaluate and assess that figure on the page to see if we feel it's something that would be a wise financial investment. So this is just, this isn't something I'm looking for an endorsement of right now. I just want you to know it's something we are exploring. Like I said, we have another meeting tomorrow, and it's certainly something we can bring back to the table on the next school committee meeting to give you an update and see what you want to go. But I do think this is, I think these are definitely two areas that coming in, I know we wanted to explore. We wanted to explore early literacy, which the Footsteps to Brilliance would, and we wanted to explore basically vocational and career pathways, and this kind of early college program would be, I think, a nice way to start walking down that lane. We just got to see if this avenue is going to be appropriate for us. So I don't know if anyone has any thoughts or concerns or questions, or you just want to process it and reach out if there's anything that comes up.
We do have some type of early college program right now. There's something. I think, aren't there some students who take college classes?
You can, but it's not really formal through us. It's sort of something that you kind of do it on your own and do sort of your own dual enrollment type program, that type of stuff. So it's not, there's a lot of programs where you can do that, but then it becomes, totally self-funded. There's sort of a difficult kind of interface between, are we making sure that these college courses are going to actually meet your graduation requirements, that kind of stuff. So this would be something that would hopefully be more formal, where kids are literally taking college courses in Clinton High School, hopefully potentially taught by our own teachers who could be teaching that curriculum and doing that sorts of things.
And so this service provides the structure and oversight in
and the
how
grant
that-
proposals and that type of stuff. But that's what I need to That's what I need to clarify at the meeting next time, is the final tangible product of what would contracting with them for this term and this amount of money. What's that end result? What's that final product going to look like? And we just got to see if it's something that we think is going to be a wise investment at that point.
So the classes could be taught here?
That would be...
Our own teachers would get certified to teach
a
college course?
Yeah. And that was a model. We did that in, when I was in, when I was in Athol, we had a similar thing where it was, our only partner was Mount Wachusett at the time, but we had teachers that were basically teaching like a Mount Wachusett curriculum that was in math, that was completion of that course automatically got them into a certain level of math at the Mount and stuff, and it was recognized as one of their courses. So so there's those types of things. And then we had a couple other situations where we did that, where an instructor came on site, say like 2 days a week from the college, but we had a teacher still assigned to that class that was with that class. So I know sometimes these issues, not these issues, but these opportunities raise some sort of contract issues and stuff, but I know I've had to navigate those waters a little bit before, so I think we could work through that. So,
piggyback on that too. What we're seeing now, we get to see since the 8th graders are starting to come over and take courses, sometimes as juniors and seniors, they're almost exhausted the system of math, science, different courses. So this would be a very, very successful program helping that. We don't want it, especially science and math.
Thank you. I mean, it makes sense to leverage every opportunity we can find to provide our students with multiple pathways to learning. So thank you for your efforts in looking at these. I would ask that we take a look at both of these options, and if there are any questions prior to the 25th, ask Dr. Meyer for some clarification.
And I can try to make sure that we get you, I know, I'm sorry for just dropping this on you today too. This is a lot happening in the last week, so we didn't get it all in the packet, but I'll try to make sure that, you should have any information we have hoping for the 25th, so if it is something we want to move forward with, you guys can feel comfortable with it.
Can they provide you, they might have already provided you with school districts that they already have done this for, and the success that they've had with that?
Yeah, he mentioned some, but I didn't check references yet, so I can work on that. So when we meet tomorrow, we can do that. Yeah, that'd be that's a good
reference and see what they're able to accomplish.
Yep, that's a good point. So with that, as we talk about these things which could have sort of an impact on curriculum and instruction, I know there is a curriculum and instruction committee. We have not officially scheduled a first meeting for that, but I think that I don't know who was the members on that last year.
Mr. Epstein and I.
Okay, so at least one of those spots we would need a new member, so I didn't know if you wanted to.
Well, I'm happy to continue unless there was a strong sense of other members wanting to. We typically in these committees, these subcommittees, we can't have more than 2 because it ends up becoming a quorum of the school committee. I have found it very helpful to hear the department heads and the teachers and the principals talk about some of the programming that they currently have and that they're looking at, and how that reflects the evolving curriculum. And I'm happy to serve, but I would defer to any of you that if there was more than one of you that wanted to serve in addition.
I'd like to serve.
If you're good, I'm good. If you don't want to do it, I'll do it, but if you're good, I'm happy with it.
Well, if you want the opportunity, I'm happy to let you do it. We have other subcommittees as well.
Yeah, I'll wait for one of those. How's that?
All right. So everyone's all right with that. Mr. McIntyre and I will serve on that committee. Thank you.
All right, so I'll make sure I include you two in the loop when we start trying to schedule the first meeting, which will probably be in the fall. We won't wait too long for it, and then probably again as we start looking at programs and studies and that type of stuff.
Great. Thank you.
Then the last thing under opportunities was just grants for after-school programs, and what I meant by this bullet is in the Title I grant application we submitted this year, I was able to allocate some funds for after-school programming, and in the Title IV grant, which is kind of a new entitlement grant, I was able to allocate some funds for after-school programming. So what we're working on now, we're working on getting quotes from the bus company about the opportunity to possibly resurrect a late bus. We're looking at maybe targeting Tuesdays and Thursdays, maybe just to start, and then using some of the money from these grants to provide extended after-school help in particularly the high school and middle school and the elementary school. We'd have to look at the logistics of the elementary school, but most of those would be able to be funded using there'd be opportunities we could use from Title I funds and Title IV funds. So, those are still in the kind of development stages. I talked to the administration about it. We're kind of processing what we think might be the best, trying to get some quotes for, like I said, the late bus, and look at the timing of that and best way we could use that. So we're hoping that, as we kind of kick into the fall, into October or so, we're going to be able to kind of get some more after-school opportunities established. And, we'll look, as we look at the funding and the numbers, we'll try to see what that, how long it'll go. We were thinking even if you're able to do something from, say, October or mid-October till even, April vacation or something, that's a bulk of the school year where kids really need help.
Great.
So I'll keep you posted on that. I just wanted to let you know that it's something we're exploring right now.
That's great. Thank you.
Consultant information. At the last meeting, we talked about looking at special education to look at both the kind of the coordinated program review and maybe also sort of examining some of our existing programs and referral process, those types of areas. So Kathy and I were able to meet last Friday. We met with a retired special education director and went over kind of the scope of services that we feel we want to get some information on. She has that information. She is processing it right now to try to see what she feels she can handle in her schedule and what she'd be qualified to do. She actually had some interesting ideas about potentially another colleague that she's aware that could maybe she's going to reach out to see maybe jointly doing some of the program stuff. So we're working on that as well, getting that quote. So just want to give you an update. We have had that meeting. Kathy was able to set it up, so we'll make sure we stay on top of that. And the other one was the budget internal controls. We talked about that, and I know Karen reached out to MASBO. I think there is a flyer in here from MASBO, a proposal that they wrote for Karen. This is the MASBO Financial Operations Review Program. It kind of outlines their purpose, the site visit that they would come and do, and those types of things. So the cost for that review is about $5,900 plus expenses. The expenses, I think they said, run probably usually around another $1,000 or so, because they will. Pardon? Right. So depending on who's doing it, they had to stay over. It could be a little more, but so about $5,900 for the review. If we wanted to include technology into the review, it would be $7,400. So I don't know, this was in the packet. I don't know if you had an opportunity to kind of look at the purpose of this, what they normally review, if this is what you guys were expecting as, or if there's something different that you're looking for in this review process.
Now, is this in addition to any type of auditing? Or
right. So this is different than an audit. This is going to look not just at our numbers and the backup for our numbers. This is going to look more at our process and procedures. Yeah.
Oh.
So I think the idea, if I've read the proposal, is this would be for those of you that weren't here at our last meeting, the town does perform financial audits, end of the year reviews, and so this would be as a complement to the financial piece in terms of the procedures. MASBO is the Massachusetts Association of School Business Officials, so this would be working in looking at the financial operations and how those processes yield the kinds of results and where we're doing things well and where we might want to look at different processes that we haven't considered in the past.
Okay, so, I guess my question would be if this is basically the scope of work that you were hoping to see, and if this is, then if you're comfortable with the approximately $6,000 or $7,000 cost with it, we can start moving forward with it and try to schedule something. We'll probably schedule something a little bit later. We won't try to get them in immediately because we'll probably wait till we wrap up FY17 so that they could look at our sort of year-end FY17 stuff as well if they wanted to. Because I know that it's a busy time of year, so wrapping up 17 and getting 18 off and running. Typically, a lot of audits, this type of procedures start happening around January or so when it's a little bit less hectic. So, but we definitely, if we want to go this route, we'd like to try to schedule it and get on their books and get ready. So,
if you Google it, you can read some of them that they've done for other towns, so you can get an idea of it.
So would that be helpful if you were to go to MASBO's site? I can certainly send you the link and just see if that's where your collective heads are at in terms of the scope.
That's right. If we're hoping to try to do something in January or so, like a little bit later once we have FY17 wrapped up, there's not a real rush. So if you guys wanted to do any more investigation or look into this, we don't necessarily need to vote right now to move forward with it. We can always bring it back up on the 25th and see how what you think.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
All right,
okay.
So I will make sure I send you that link.
And then the last kind of topic I had was a collaboration with the town. I didn't really know what else to put it as, but I think the other day, Mike Ward and Chris McGowan and I spent pretty much probably 6 or 8 hours together, which was with all the different meetings. But The facilities director update, that process is moving along. I don't know if either of you want to.
You want to report out on it?
There's not a lot. I mean, we're just
We're in the middle of interviews, so.
Yeah, we got one more set of interview, well, one more to interview Wednesday at 6, and then we'll. I don't know if we're voting that night, or I'm not sure what we're going to narrow it down to a certain number to forward up to Dr. Meyer and Mike Ward. So that's the last set of interviews is scheduled for Wednesday.
Right. So the last scheduled set of interviews is Wednesday, and then I think the committee would make their decision for their next steps following that night, and whatever those might be, that might be. Yeah.
Well, thank you both for your involvement in that.
And budget software update. So the town did approve at town meeting to go. They're trying to go to a unified budget software package. I think in the spring, Munis came in and did a kind of their presentation. There were two others that came in. One was Vadar and one was IBMS or something like that. But they're all ones that they're all kind of parts that someone in the town uses already for something. And we're just trying to. So I attended those the last week. Those two other most recent presentations, and it's difficult. I'd say this is a difficult challenge because when you really get everyone in the room and you look at what everyone's needs are, there's a big difference between, your needs if you're processing water bills and tax collecting than if you're, where I'm really worried about something that's going to allow me to do a lot more, human resource management feeding directly into my budget system. So we'll see how that process goes, but it is something that, I know the town voted on. It has been underway. We have kind of had those initial meetings, and we'll keep you posted on how that goes. I think that's all I have tonight, Mr. Chair.
So I want to thank our fellow committee members for their diligence in getting to the facilities, and I didn't know we had a couple members report out at our last meeting. Didn't know if anybody else wanted to report out as well on the readiness of our schools, grounds, and central office to not only open the school year, but I think also to document some of the strengths, some of the areas of concern, some of which the superintendent has already addressed tonight, some of which are continuing to be in process, but also to create sort of a working document so that there's a record of the concerns that we're bringing to the table and a timeline, an actionable timeline to address them. So, I want to publicly thank all of you. I know that it's hard sometimes to schedule, time with either the head custodians or principals in some cases to get around to these different areas. But I hope that it was time well spent for you. I think for our school district, it continue to pay off.
Do you want us to report on?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, I have. So I met with Anne Marie last week. Mostly everything was fine. Just a couple, the infamous floor tiles that I was complaining about. But I talked with Anne Marie. We're gonna try to see if we can find a substitute for that, just cosmetically, because you go in every time a tile. You have beige and brown, and then they replace it with a white one. And just I'd like to see if we can find a color that is close to the original color that was there. There was some chip paint on the doorways on the first floor, but Anne Marie said that's getting dealt with within in the first month. She has that already coordinated. The only thing that's really needs to be brought to the committee's attention that we need to take some action on is in the wood shop, the doors leading out into the parking lot stick really bad, and that's a safety issue. If anyone ever had to get out of the school or of the wood shop for whatever reason, so we need to look at those doors, either repair or replace them. The wood shop dust collector is not functioning. I don't know if it's even functioning up. I think it's functioning somewhat, but not efficiently. So we need to look into that as quickly as possible to see if it either can be repaired or if the unit just has to be replaced. And where that unit is actually housed needs to be cleared out. It's just like any other, it's a available space. So I think people over the years have just been kind of storing things in there. So, but me and Anne-Marie went through it. The stuff needs to get out of there. There's a lot of junk that could be thrown away. So that area needs to be cleaned up. The dust collector needs to be inspected and either repaired or replaced, and the doors leaving the wood shop have to be either repaired or replaced. So really, those are the only big findings. The wood shop findings at the end.
Thank you.
I know I wasn't able to go on your walkthrough with you, but I did talk to Emery after that, and I think we were reaching out to the high school to try to see who services the what do we call it, the dust collector, basically, from the technology, who services that over here, so that we can get working on that. And I think we're even going to reach out to the doors. We just recently had some work done to the front doors, so we're following up on that. Okay, so we're working on those two kind of urgent issues right now. I guess one other thing, there was some tiles that appeared to kind of come loose in one of the classrooms, some of the floor tiles. Today it looked like might have been some water or something under them. So we are having the floor company come out, and Emery and I did talk today about, wow, you've got a floor company here. Let's talk about getting some quotes on what this whole thing is going to look like, so that we can at least get the ball rolling on trying to figure out, until you have kind of a number on a project, it's hard to really talk about its reality, and just kind of stays a dream. So at least we got them out there to start talking about what's this going to cost. Unfortunately, it probably will require some sort of abatement to do a major hallway renovation like that. So that would add to the cost. But if we can at least get the ball rolling now, then that could be something that, if we feel strongly about, we could pursue as a warrant article or something like that.
Great. But other than that, the middle school was in great condition. Had some new painting done on the second floor. Came out nice.
And that was a community
started
effort, right?
Yeah, it started
community started effort.
Yeah.
Please extend our thanks to everyone that either participated in that or coordinated that effort or donated time or materials. It's very much appreciated.
It kind of came together really in a really good way that I don't think we even planned, where we got a lot of materials donated, a lot of labor donated from the community to get a lot of the actual painting started. Then we did end up hiring a professional to kind of come in and finish up a little bit. So I think it actually made it turn out, it has a nice kind of professional feel to it now that it's done, but it was obviously substantially less because they didn't have to roll everything. So it really kind of came together well.
Dr. Meyer, can I ask you further, and I'm just reading through these, can you, as we read through these, if there's ones that are kind of hot issues or safety issues, like Ed mentioned the doors, and I know when I went through, there was a thing with the control panel at the high school, the fire control panel. Can we just get an estimate on these, so as we go forward, as you talk about warrant articles, when we get ready to do the next budget, or I know we can't fix it tomorrow, but then we'll have a kind of a ballpark number to work with. So whether we, group them all together, other safety stuff, or we break them down, that's something we can worry about later. But just like you said, so we'll have whatever. And if the principals or your vice principals have other issues that we missed, if there's some more of a safety thing or something they want to see fixed tomorrow that like I said, is going to have a major impact, that we'll have a number on it. Again, nothing for tomorrow. I'm just saying.
No, but we'll try as we approach the budget season. We want to make sure we have sort of that capital improvement section ready to go, so that we can say, and if we want to prioritize them, say, hey, these are safety concerns that need to be at the front of the list. We'll do that.
So no, but thank you.
Well, I think a good lead-in of talking about floors at the middle school, we can talk about the the central office walkthrough, the old elementary school. Because whatever the material is that they use for the flooring there, they should use it all schools, because however old that is, it's still really in great shape for the age of that building. The floors are, they're literally shining right now. So it appeared very clean, and we did walk with Tom Liddy. He was gracious enough to walk with us with Dr. Meyer, and he indicated that there weren't any leaks or any serious building concerns as far as he knows. just so everybody's aware, that building houses the superintendent's office, FLAC, Achieve Performance Training, Wachusett Wellness, a local artist that rents out some space, and then the Clinton Community Partnership for Children. So, not every single room, but there's quite a few rooms that are. There's not many rooms that are available. It's pretty full, and I didn't realize I didn't include, but the adult learning, is, I think, almost the whole second floor. I think every single classroom. I didn't realize that there were that many classrooms that they use. So, the biggest concern was the access doors, which have been in rough shape for a while, but that's being addressed this year with the monies that were allocated, the town meeting warrant article. And then the short-term concerns, I guess the boiler is quite old. Sometimes they have to go and kind of kickstart it. I don't think.
That was part of my overlap training with Superintendent Ngano, is learning how to jumpstart the boiler in the morning.
But at some point, I think we should have some type of a contingency plan if in the dead of winter that boiler conks out. What would we do with all the, with that building and all the people that are in it? So, and we are working on the whole tenant relationship. Dr. Meyer is working on with all the different tenants that do occupy that building. There is some outside graffiti, unfortunately. I know the whole town is affected by it, but that is going to be cleaned up. And then just a note that we should, when we get into some longer-term planning, look at the usage of that building and see if if it's something that we want to consider changing the uses of it.
Great. Thank you.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Sorry, could I bring up one more facilities thing that I kind of
By all
neglected
means.
under my facilities
Sure,
part, but
sure.
while I guess still loosely tied to this agenda item. I did have a meeting with the this company. It was Solect. It's a solar company. I met with Mike Ward and I met with this company last week, and what they're looking at, I guess the town Mike had already met with them previously to have them look at different buildings the town owns about the potential for solar, and they're saying that they believe all three of our schools, the elementary, the middle, and the high school, are good candidates for solar power options on the roof. The way their program works is essentially, they're kind of renting the roof space from you, and you're buying the electricity from them. It's a 20-year agreement. You'd be buying the power at, I think right now under the SREC 2, they're able to offer a rate of 9.8 cents per kilowatt hour, which typically right now we're probably paying more like 13 or 15, somewhere in there, depending on with the full, not just the power price, but the distribution charge and everything else in there. So typically their estimate, their cost estimate is that based on our size of roofs, we could potentially save an average of, they say, $30,000 a year per roof over the 20-year lifespan of the, $30,000 per year would be the average. Probably wouldn't be as much in the beginning, but because it's a fixed rate you pay as time goes on and prices go up, you would save more towards the end. The questions I asked were about the roof quality themselves, and saying that this building, although it's in tremendous shape, is basically a 20-year-old building, which means we're probably getting to the point where we need to start thinking about a new roof. The middle school, I know, has kind of a patchwork quilt as a roof that at some point is going to need to be addressed. And they did mention, we did talk, because I know that there can be, they did say there is a possibility that if they explored it, it could be something where they might do the necessary roof repair. I don't like this roof has only one roof on it, so you could put a new membrane over the existing membrane, and that's not usually a huge expense. That could be something that almost they would include in the whole package. It just means our rate wouldn't be 9.8 cents, it might be 11 cents. And now it's essentially financing a new roof through your solar. So what they're looking for is this letter of intent to purchase power with them. It's not the salesman speak for it was, we're not getting married yet, but it'd be getting engaged. So if you give them this letter of intent, they would actually come out, they'd send the engineers to actually look at your roof and start doing their actual projections and drawings and stuff. So they would start investing some time and money into making sure that this is feasible. So what this letter of intent means is that we just commit to, if we want to go forward with the project, we go forward with them. And if we back out, we would owe them some fees not to exceed $1,500. Now, it does not include, we wouldn't be on the hook for anything if it turned out not to be feasible. So if they went and they said, yeah, your roof isn't, in order for us to do this, you would need to put $600,000 into a new roof at the middle school, then we can say, sorry, that's not what we're doing right now, and there's no penalty for that. It's really, the purpose of the letter of intent is so that we don't basically have them do all the engineering work for free and then go shop around and try to get a better price. Mike was involved in the meeting. This is set up with Power Options, which is sort of a municipal kind of nonprofit. This is all, bid ready, all that kind of stuff. It's not, bid list type stuff. It's not like we need to go do any major concern. It could just be, they could come in, do it. If we like the numbers and it could work, then we can go forward. If we don't, then we don't have to. I can double or triple check, but as far as my understanding is, it's really the only point of the letter of intent is so that we don't use them for their engineering services and then go shop around to other places. So I guess I don't know if you guys are comfortable with me entering into a letter of intent, because the SREC, which is like the solar laws, regulations, SREC 2 ends in March. So then enter into SREC 3, which means the power, the 9.8 cents wouldn't be the rate anymore. We'd have to see what the government did with the incentives. And typically, SREC 1, it was 6.8 was they were going, and they're anticipating it'll go up more. So it'd be more beneficial to try to lock in now is the thought. So.
So the only cost then potentially is incurring the potential loss of the engineering, which it's prudent for us to do anyway, given the age of our roofs and what we might be looking at.
Yeah, I think it would give us information on that. So, for example, if we got information on the middle school roof and we decided it wasn't feasible to go ahead with solar at this time, we'll turn around and use that information for our MSBA accelerated repair program application to try to get money from the MSBA for the roof and the boilers. So, it's something to explore. I guess they're just trying to move fairly quickly. I'll still stay in contact with Mike Ward about it. I think there's only one town building that they thought might be feasible. A lot of the other town buildings had too many pitches and not enough direct sunlight. So but he's kind of working in the same boat. So if you guys are comfortable with me signing a letter of intent to at least get it going, if we get that support, if you still have questions, I can try to get more information for you.
I do have a question. So did this, I forgot what you said, it was like a municipal collaborative or whatever brought this company to you. Did they already do the homework of going out and looking for more than one company that does this? And
so
offers
Power
this?
Options is kind of like a municipal collaborative for it was kind of created by the energy department, and they do their solar program and their solar credits program here is what that had to go out to bid, and this company Select is what won.
Is the one that came
is
through
the one
it.
that won their bid. So they're kind of the go-to that you can go through this municipal collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's kind of like Select, but it's using Power Options, which is, it's actually municipals and nonprofits. So they do, some colleges and that type of stuff as well.
I'm all for solar. I think something we should have looked at a long time ago. But I just think because in essence the town does own these buildings, whatever savings that we have on our electric bill, would it be, I'm assuming that would be worked out later on, so.
Yeah, Mike and I talked a little bit about that, about how, you know, and I know there's some questions about that with like the new facilities director and those types of things, and you know, Mike's vision is his understanding is that, you know, we would still kind of probably keep utilities as the each department's kind of responsibility, because the facility director might help you with what fixture you have or what type of automatic shut-off switch you have, but ultimately, you know, the amount of electricity you use, the amount of water you use, I mean, that's your own department's deal. So, you know, in his mind, this is still something that the savings would be something that would directly benefit the schools, really, which I keep saying when we have these conversations, especially with Mike, the more Mike and I talk, the schools is the town. It's the same, you know, it's one big budget. Any money you can save helps everybody. You know, there's only so much to go around. In this program, these are, they're also panels that do not, they're actually counterbalance panels, so they don't actually sink, like physically attached to your roof. So there's like, they put a separate, like, there's like a membrane underneath them, and then they're weighted down on your roof. So that way, and then they're all connected to each other for the electrical service. I don't know how hurricane-proof
I'm
they
just
are.
thinking about the initial expense of it, and something that we certainly wouldn't want to burden the taxpayer.
No, so there's zero expense for this.
For the actual panels?
Yeah, so this would cost us nothing. So they own the panels. Essentially, they're basically leasing space on our roof so that they can sell us electricity.
We're creating a solar generator on the top of our buildings.
So there would be no expense to us. It would just be a matter of we would just be
$100,000 a year, whatever if we got 3 schools on.
We could
said it was about
save,
30
yeah,
a
we
year,
could
so
save,
potentially.
yeah. Or in early years, it's probably more like 20 or 25, and then it's projected to go up as cost of electricity is projected to go up. But so yeah, it could be a potential savings of say like 60,000 or something like that.
They're not locking in that 9.8 cents for 20 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the.
So
and
how
that's
are
what
they making money? Are we pumping extra electricity into the grid, or how are?
They must. I'm sure the calculation is they know exactly how much power they anticipate to generate.
Yeah.
They know how much we're going to pay them over 20 years, and they know that they can do this project for less than that. So they're going to end up, you know, if they know they're going to get, just to pick any old number, they're going to pick, if they're going to get $1 million from us over 20 years in electric bills, but they know that they can put solar panels on here at a cost to them of $250,000. Well, they're going to make $750,000 over 20 years by essentially selling us, because they don't have anyone to sell electricity to until they have a place to actually generate it. So that's sort of how that works.
Gotcha.
And then that's why they had to bid it to make sure that it's all fair and reasonable, and they can say this is the expense for putting it in, this is what we would charge, all that kind of stuff.
Got it. So
Questions from the left side of the table?
I would just like to, you can give me the name of the company there, I'd just like to be able to look at it.
Yep,
For,
it's,
I don't mean right now.
okay.
But, you know, before I voted, I'd like to just take a look. I mean, you don't need it, if we voted by the next meeting, that wouldn't be too late for you, would it?
I think it would be fine.
I mean, I don't want to hold it up. I mean, if it's gonna, you know, change anything, like you said, we haven't till March with the rates and everything. If you need something between now and, you know, the next meeting, but I'd rather wait. That's
Okay.
when
I'm
does
fine.
it get locked in?
That's what I'm getting at.
We should be able to.
Does the letter of intent lock in some of those terms that you were discussing?
Well, we'd have to get the project pretty much, not necessarily completed, but
somewhere between
on its way to
engaged.
completed before like March ended. Which, if you think about it, I mean, they're not screwing things into the roof. I mean, they got to show up and unload a bunch of panels and then, you know, tie them all together. So, you know, I guess the bigger part would just be, my biggest question, I think I asked a lot of questions about, was the condition of our roofs, and do we feel that it's wise to put something on there that we could potentially have to have removed to fix a roof in 2 years or something like that, and then put it back on. But that's what they said would be part of the next phase of the engineering, that they would kind of look at the condition of your roof. They'd look at, you know, the the strength of your roof to make sure that it could hold the weight of the panels and all that kind of stuff. He said they had one, they did just do a bunch of schools in Fitchburg, and they actually said they had one school in Fitchburg that they did not do because it was questionable, the roof, the load that it said they could, but if you ended up with, the snowiest winter on record, it might fail. So they backed off from that project.
Yeah, I don't think they would try to scam us out of $1,500 because it's in their best interest that the roof is in good condition for the solar panels too,
Yeah.
right? I mean, so it's not, because that's the worst case scenario, right? Is that if we got in sort of some dispute about, they said the roofs were good for the solar panels and like we didn't think they were, then, in that scenario you said, they'd say, all right, well, we sent engineers out.
They said it's okay.
We need $1,500.
And I think, I can go through this again certainly, but as far as it's also that we have to see what the non-compete timeline is kind of, but really the whole point is that we still might decide that the project doesn't make sense for us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my understanding. It's that we're just not going to then take this and try to shop around to another solar company with the work they did.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what Fitchburg saved? You said they did a project in Fitchburg. Do you know what, was it just recent or?
I think it was fairly recent.
Okay, so they don't have a.
Yeah, I think they've actually only had they've only been the provider for power options for a few years now. So everything that they've been doing is coming online kind of just recently and going to.
So I have two questions. So I think you already answered the first. So with the bidding process, the state bid list, we don't have the ability to go out shopping around with other companies first because it's already been done for us. Is that correct?
Yeah, I suppose we could do it on our own. We could create our own bid and try to do it ourselves. But that's part of the benefit of the bid list is that's already been vetted through them, so that smaller towns like us that don't have huge departments writing bids and analyzing specs all the time, we know that that's been thoroughly vetted for us.
And then my second question is, and we might not have the answer tonight, if we don't use all of the electricity that we're generating on our roofs, can other Clinton buildings buy the power for that 9.8 cent rate? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yes, but I believe the answer is no. But so whatever would be generated in the building would need to be used in the building. But some of the things that we could, which based on the size of how much they'd be able to generate, they said shouldn't be an issue. The thing that comes in is some of the other purchasing agreements that we might already have entered into where we've agreed to purchase so much power. We need to look at how much is available, and a lot of those other purchasing agreements can be redesignated a lot of times. So if you do have a purchasing agreement, and let's say they came in and they said the only one that's really feasible is the high school. Okay, well we might have a purchasing agreement where we're kind of already allocating some money towards the high school, but typically those purchasing agreements would be able to just reallocate that to our other accounts and try to even it out a little bit. But no, this one would not. At least we would not see any credit. I don't know if they do, but we would not see credit because my understanding is that the scope of the array would generate basically less than our demand.
That was going to be one of my questions, because the supply contracts that we have for gas and electric, we already out 3 years, so would that affect this or no?
It could, but we'd have to see we'd have to investigate those contracts as well. So we just have to see, because typically those contracts aren't written for 100% necessarily, or if they are, they're not. We just have to see how they're worded.
So we might be able to
Yep.
move them.
So I don't know if you're comfortable letting me, continue to work on this with, I'll review more of the financials with Karen. I can continue to meet with Mike and see what they do, and if they need it signed before the next meeting, are you comfortable with that? Or, they're salesmen, and salesmen will try to push you, and then but they ultimately want to make a sale. So if I say I got to wait till the 25th, then they got to wait till the 25th. So I can bring back a little more homework to you then.
I'd rather wait.
I'd rather know what our commitments are with our
Yep.
other contracts, what the financial impact of that is.
Okay. Right. So I'll put together more of a comprehensive analysis and get it in the packet so you can see it with an actual copy of, like, this is just a draft copy of the letter. Maybe what I can do is have the actual copies of the letters from them. It's like it's something we want to go with, so that literally that night we can vote and just sign it, if that's how they want to go.
Great.
All right?
Because even if we sign the letter of intent and they came and did their analysis, even if we decided not to go because there was some type of grave expense to get out of our contracts, we still wouldn't owe them any money, right? It's only if we decide to go through the solar project and we wouldn't go with them.
I believe, but I can, that's part of what I'll clarify through this process. So we'll wait, that's fine, and we'll plan on bringing it back on the 25th with more definites and more, maybe some specific examples. I'm sure we can fax them our contracts and they'll do a whole cost estimate for us, so.
Would you like me to send that link as well? Do you want to do some research on your own?
If you'll do it for me, I'll be glad.
Sure.
I'm all,
Okay. All right.
send me all the links you want.
Just stop in Mike's office on your way to work and ask him. He'll give you the same pamphlet.
Just want you to
So
break it down.
we have a meeting scheduled on the 25th of September, which also coincides with the dedication of the memorial bench at the elementary school. I thought it would be a good thing for us to attend at 6:30, and I think because of that, I think it might be nice to see if we could have the meeting at the elementary school on the 25th. And I'd like to ask that we do that unless anyone has an issue with it. Mr. Rullo, you're willing to host us on the 25th?
No, is it 6:30 is the?
The program begins at 6:15.
6:15, thank you.
Can I add one thing to the central office?
Sure.
I wanted to, because I'm not sure of Tom project, we did replace the air conditioning unit on the roof of the central office this summer. We used rental facilities money to replace that, so that's great.
Just the regular window air conditioner?
No, the roof air conditioner.
Oh, I didn't hear. Oh, the roof air conditioner.
Right,
Oh,
so
okay.
that got replaced new this summer, and that was used by rental facilities.
Okay. So some of that cost comes back in rent?
Yeah.
That's what we do.
That's what we can
Right.
use the
Oh,
money
that's what we
for.
use it for? Oh, okay.
We use the money from the rent for that.
Okay, so we're agreed we'll move the meeting of Monday, September 25th to the elementary school to CES, and if you're able to attend at 6:15 for that dedication, I think that'd be terrific.
And I know that one of the topics we had talked about was trying to do some more, trying to alternate some of our meetings, so we kind of have a business meeting and then maybe more of a celebration or focus meeting. And so what we'll do, since we'll be at the elementary school, is we'll have our elementary present a little bit about the WIN block and their school year,
Oh,
and
that'd be
some of the
great.
things they have going on at that same meeting. So I think it'll be a nice, I think obviously it'd be nice to have school committee and have our dedication ceremony. I think that's obviously an important event, and then to be able to go right into elementary school and sort of hear how the elementary school year is going, I think would be a good venue for that.
Agreed.
Dr. Meyer, can you please ask Mrs. Neely to, in big caps on the email with a packet before that meeting, say that it's at the elementary school, it's at 6:15, so I don't show up here.
I'll
at
text
7
you.
o'clock.
We'll leave a note on the door, Ed at CES.
Mr. Morrison,
follow
do
me
you
in.
think that will this work at the elementary school? We'll give it a shot.
Yeah, oh yeah, we'll try.
Okay. All right.
We'll just use an iPhone.
Okay. Do we have an update from the marketing subcommittee?
No, I haven't. I didn't schedule anything yet. Beginning of the school year, I figured give everyone a break. We'll get something scheduled for the end of the month. I mean, side note, we had the first had a booth at Old Home Days popcorn. They had the robot there, so that was part of our.
Seemed very popular.
Yeah, it was. It was good. But we'll start meeting regularly at the end of the month, and I'll have an update for you guys. If not the next meeting, definitely the meeting after that.
Great. All right. Thank you. So the last thing that we have under my report is the last item in your packet is a newsletter that we received from MASC in terms of policy development, and obviously we've gone over a lot of existing policies, policies that might need to be removed, policies that are duplicates, have language that is duplicative with other policies or conflicting with other policies, and it's quite a long list as you've probably seen already. And so there's sections of policies that we should review, policies that we should remove, and then policies to just consider in terms of language as it reflects MASC's existing online policy reference manual, and and we've gone through this process, started to go through this process through Dr. Meyer's diligence in looking at some of our policies, and so I didn't know if that was something that we wanted to tackle in bulk form, or form another subcommittee in terms of policies to make recommendations to the school committee, so that we're not, we want to go through as many of them as we can, as quickly as we can, as long as we're providing, the right kind of review in terms of how these policies work toward the school department, and making sure that they're reflective of what what our schools need. So if you have any thoughts on that.
Joel, I'm sorry, go ahead, Brittany.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Do you think it would make sense to divvy them up, to split them up amongst the five of us? I'm just...
Well, that's another way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, two people on a committee, that's one way to do it, but it just seems that's a lot of torture for two people to spread this duty out amongst the five of us, because I mean, there's a lot. There seems that there's a lot of policies here. That's all.
Yeah. So I think that's certainly a way to do it. I don't know what your thoughts are.
There's some duplication of what the ones
Yes.
that we just went through, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
some of these we've already, this is from June,
Yeah,
so some
so-
of these, if they were related to the civil rights or the coordinated program review, we've already done them, and we've already factored in some of this.
Okay.
But some of these are not. Some of these are just, totally different ones that they've updated or removed.
So I should have been more clear. The newsletter for me just calls into focus for us not only the process that we've already started on, but how comprehensive it is. And so I didn't know if it was something that you wanted to think about in terms of, one of our three fundamental roles is setting policy for the school district. How involved, we wanted to be into the granular details of that. If you feel the process is working now, then we can continue to, look at them through first readings, through second readings, as a committee, as a whole committee, and propose we could look at, sections of them. I would suggest that it's probably not something we want to look at separate from with the superintendent. That there are, we can look at it in terms of the policy and how that relates to the schools and to Mass General Law. But I think that probably has to go through the superintendent's office in terms of, the procedural aspects of it as well. Would you prefer to think about it, and we can revisit this on the 25th? We have a pretty full agenda for the 25th.
It's mostly updating on stuff, but we could, even if it's not the 25th, I mean, this is one of those things that's not going to...
Again, it is, right, it is
it's-
about procedure
policy is
more
one of those
so
things that
than...
you're always going to be doing, and I'm sure when we go to the Cape in November, we're going to get a new list of ones
Yeah.
that they've updated again. So, I think it's just something that we just want to be aware of, and I think that we just want to start figuring out the best way we want to do these. I've had experience working with a policy subcommittee, so that we can just sort of meet, at a convenient time and just kind of
go through a lot of these, because a lot of them are just, you look at them and you're changing 2 words, and then that way we bring them and we say the policy subcommittee looked at it and you guys are like, good.
And I think, I like what Ed is saying as far as breaking it down, but I don't mind volunteering to be part of the subcommittee to get it cleaned up to where we are as far as with Clinton, and then come in front of the group and say, okay, we have these 25 left that we need to address for Clinton, and we've already addressed, the other maybe 60 that are there.
So
exaggeration of numbers, but
So we could form a subcommittee and maybe clean up the no-brainers, and then anything that seems to be controversial or really contradicting our practices or policies, we can bring to the full committee.
So by the power vested in me as the chair of this committee, I hereby appoint Mr. McIntyre and Mr. Duval to the policy subcommittee.
Thanks, Ed. Kept my head down.
It's a place to start. We'll go from there.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You're on your own, you know that, Mike.
I'm happy to be involved as well.
oh, you will.
Any old business? New business? Is there any additional public comment that perhaps was generated as a result of this lengthy exercise in democracy? There being none, we'll move to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Supposed to be seconded down there, but I'll go.
Second. Okay, all those in favor? We stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
I honestly thought this would be a short meeting. I'm sorry.
You can't let it